Hi, I'm Teacher Marlon, and I am here to discuss a new lesson which is entitled The Use of Basic Hand Tools According to Their Job Specification. Let us identify the learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, we will learn how to identify the different types and uses of electronic hand tools. Distinguish driving tools, splicing tools, soldering tools, boring tools, cutting tools, and auxiliary tools, and explain the importance of using correct tools according to the job being performed. Let us define electronics. According to Oxford Dictionary, electronics is the branch of physics and technology concerned with the design of circuits using transistors and microchips, and with the behavior and movement of electrons in a semiconductor, conductor, vacuum, or gas. Aside from those components, it also deals with the circuit designing using some other components. In order to make circuits design, a variety of electronic tools are needed. In school, you are directed to make projects like assembling and disassembling components from the printed circuit board. As we go along, guided with this topic, we will be able to identify, distinguish the basic electronic hand tools. Before we start any kind of activity or work, make sure you are wearing the personal protective equipment or the PPE. The personal protective equipment or PPE is an equipment that will protect you or any kind of workers against health or safety risks on the job. It is important for you to identify the basic electronic hand tools, including the uses of each tool. These tools are easy to use, but before using them, there are things to consider in order to avoid danger. There are some equipment you will need for your protection. The personal protective equipment includes items such as protective helmets, eye protection, high visibility clothing, safety footwear, safety harnesses, and sometimes respiratory protective equipment, and a lot more. What is the difference between tool and equipment? A tool can be any item that is used to achieve a goal. On the other hand, an equipment is usually denotes a set of tools that are used to achieve a specific objective. Tools are typically handled or manually operated devices that are used to perform specific tasks or make repairs. They are often small and portable and can be carried from one site or carried from one job site to another. The examples of tools include hammers, screwdrivers, wrenches, pliers, saws, and drills. Equipment, on the other hand, generally refers to larger, more complex devices or systems that are used to perform specific functions or accomplish certain goals. They often require some level of training or expertise to operate and maintain, and may be stationary or mobile. Some examples of equipment include forklifts, cranes, bulldozers, generators, and HVAC systems. In summary, tools are handled or manually operated devices used for specific tasks. Equipment refers to larger, more complex systems used to perform specific functions, and machines use power to perform work such as moving or processing materials. What are the basic electrical or electronic tools? The first category is the driving tools. Driving tools include a variety of steel tools used to install, repair, and maintain a variety of constructions. Drivers are used to drill, insert, and drive screws, nuts, and bolts into surfaces with mechanical and manual force. One of the driving tools is a screwdriver. A screwdriver is a hand tool for turning a screw. Screwdrivers are made of steel hardened and tempered at the tip, used to loosen or tighten screws with slotted heads. They come in various sizes and shapes. A type of screwdriver is what we call a Phillips screwdriver. Phillips screwdriver is designed to be used with a type of screw which is called a Phillips head screw that has a slot in its top that looks like a cross. Phillips head screwdrivers are shaped like a positive on its head and should only be used with corresponding size screws. A type of screwdriver is a slotted screwdriver, which is used to drive screws with a slotted head or negative sign symbol. The flat blade of the screwdriver fits into the slot and remains in place as long as the tool is kept in line with the screw and constant pressure is applied. A slotted screwdriver, also known as a flathead or flat blade screwdriver, was the first type of screwdriver. The blade tip is wedge-shaped and resembles a negative sign. This is used to drive screws with single slot head. Remember, flathead screwdrivers are used with a flathead screws only. Don't use screwdrivers as pry bars, they will break. Another type of screwdriver is what we call jeweler's screwdriver set. These are primarily used on high precision or very small systems like watches or eyeglasses. They are always mechanical, meaning they are hand-powered rather than electric. They are a set of small screwdrivers composed of slotted and Phillips screwdrivers. These are more useful for fine work, such as electronics, eyeglasses, watches, and jewelry. This type of screwdriver is what we call the Allen wrench. Allen wrench is an L-shaped metal bar with a hexagonal head at each end. It is used to turn bolts and screws having hexagonal sockets. An Allen key or Allen wrench is also known as hex key. This is a small handheld tool used for turning bolts and screws which have hexagonal sockets. When you need to use the Allen wrench, stick the short end of the L shape into the bolt head and press down on the longer side of the L and to turn the bolt. Of course, the Allen wrench will only fit in a hex bolt, a bolt with 6 sides. So don't try using the Allen wrench to screw in any other type of fastener. The second category for basic hand tools is the splicing tools. When two electric wires are joined together, the joint form is normally called a splice. A good splice should not only be mechanically secure, it must also form an electrical connection which is just as efficient a conductor as the wire itself. The first type of splicing tool is the pliers. Pliers are hand tools used to hold objects firmly, possibly developed from tongs used to handle hot metal in bronze, H. They are also useful for bending and compressing a wide range of materials. Pliers are used to grip, cut, crimp, hold, and bend various parts. Different pliers are helpful for different situations. Examples are combination pliers or slip joint pliers. These are the most common pliers used. The slip joints allows the jaws to be adjusted to grasp different size parts. Another example is rib joint pliers or channel lock pliers or water pump pliers. Open extra wide for holding very large objects. The needle nose pliers are excellent for handling extremely small parts or reaching into highly restricted areas. Diagonal cutting pliers are the most commonly used cutting pliers. The jaw shape allows cutting flush with the surface. Locking pliers or vice grips clamp onto and hold the part, while snap ring pliers have sharp, pointed tips for installing and removing special clips called snap rings. One of the examples of pliers is what we call diagonal pliers or side cutter. It is a pair of strong blades incorporated into a pair of pliers. It is typically used for cutting wire. It is also a pair of handheld clippers having such blades. It is only used for cutting wire, sheet metal, and a lot more. Diagonal pliers or side cutter are similarly shaped tool for cutting rather than holding, using a pair of stout blades similar to scissors, except that the cutting surfaces meet parallel to each other rather than overlapping. Long nose pliers is one of the examples of pliers which are used for cutting, holding, bending, reposition, and stretching the lead of electronic component or connecting wires. It is used by artisans, jewelry designers, electricians, network engineers, and other trade people. Artisan is a work in a skilled trade, especially one that involves making things by hand. Wire stripper is another example of pliers, which is a tool designed to remove the protective covering, or what we call the jacket, of a cable to expose the inner wires, because different wires come in different shapes. There are dozens of different wire strippers available in the market. To use a wire stripper, place a wire between the blade and the holder. Then, rotate the stripper around the cable until the cable jacket can be pulled off. The third category of basic hand tools is the soldering tools. Soldering is a process of joining two or more metals. Items are joined together by melting a lead or solder lead with lower melting points. Soldering is used to connect components with the printed circuit board or PCB. It is a permanent connection. The word solder comes from the Middle English word soudure, via Old French soldure, and solder from the Latin solidare, meaning to make solid. Solder is a process in which two or more items are joined together by melting and putting a filler of metal or the solder into the joint. Soldering iron is one of the examples of soldering tool. It is a device for applying heat to melt solder in attaching two metal parts. It is composed of heated metal tip and an insulated handle. For electrical work, wires are usually soldered to printed circuit boards or PCB, other wires, or small terminals. A low-power iron 20 to 30 watts is suitable for this work. You can use a soldering lead, which is a metal or an alloy that melts at a low temperature. Another soldering tool is what we call the soldering tool stand. It is a device or the place where the soldering iron is placed during the usage. This will keep the soldering iron away from flammable materials. The stand often comes with a sponge used in cleaning the tip of the soldering iron. The soldering tool. The soldering tool is used in removing soldered wires and components on printed circuit boards or PCBs for troubleshooting and repair purposes. The soldering lead is a metal or alloy that melts at a low temperature. The solder paste is a mixture of metal, solder powder, and flux. These two elements are required to successfully solder together two pieces of metal. A soldering flux is a kind of chemical used in automatic printed circuit board assembly and hand soldering. It is basically used to clean the surface of printed circuit board before a soldering process. It helps to clean and remove oxides and other impurities and thus helps in wetting. Fourth category of basic hand tools is the boring tools. Boring tools are used in construction, carpentry, metalwork, and many industries to make holes in various materials. The various types of boring tools are classified mostly according to their different functions. The first example of boring tools is the portable electric drill. It is used for boring holes in plastic or metal chassis with the use of drill bits having the sizes from 1/6 inches to approximately 1/4 inches. It is portable, which means the electricity is provided by an attached rechargeable battery as opposed to corded drill that must be plugged in a wall socket. It can be electric or cordless. Rated by size of chuck, 1/4 inches, 3/8 inches, 1/2 inches. Make sure bit is tight in chuck. Hammer drill is used to drill holes in masonry. The second example of boring tools is the 12-bolt mini drill. It is used to bore or drill holes in the printed circuit board or PCB with sizes from 132 and 116 inches. Metal files. Metal files are hand tools having a series of sharp parallel ridges or teeth. Most files have a narrow, pointed tongue at one end and which a handle can be fitted. Flat file is an example of metal file, which is a steel hand tool with small sharp teeth on some or all of its surfaces. Triangular file is a metal file which has three tapering sides. They are used to file the surfaces of acute internal angles. Small triangular files are also used to sharpen hand saws, A knife file is a type of triangle file that looks a lot like a flat file. Another example of metal file is a round file. It is also called the rat tail file, which is gradually tapered and used for many tasks that require a round tool, such as enlarging round holes or cutting a scallop edge. The last example of metal file is a half-round file. It is tapered in width and thickness, coming to a point, and is narrower than a standard half-round and used for filing inside rings. The fifth category for basic hand tools is what we call the cutting tools. Cutting tools is a wedge-shaped and sharp-edged device that is used to remove excess layer of material from the work piece by shearing during machining in order to obtain desired shape, size, and accuracy. Hacksaw is a cutting tool used for cutting metals. Some have pistol grips, which keep the hacksaw firm and easy to grip. Utility knife is a common tool used in cutting various trades and crops for a variety of purposes. The last category for basic hand tools is the auxiliary tools. Auxiliary tools is an extra tool that is available for use when necessary. One of the examples of auxiliary tools is the magnifying glass. Magnifying glass is a lens that produces an enlarged image, typically set in a frame, with a handle and used to examine small or finely detailed things such as fingerprints, stamps, and fine print. Paintbrush is an example of auxiliary tool which is made of bristles set in a handle used for cleaning dirty parts of a circuit or an object. Aside from hand tools, equipment are also needed for more accurate and quality output. In this connection, three of the most used equipment are presented here for you to be familiar with their uses and the proper way of maintaining them. Bolt-on millimeter. Bolt-on millimeter is an equipment that combines three functions. These are voltmeter, ohmmeter, and millimeter. It is an equipment that combines three functions. As a voltmeter that measures both alternating current and direct current voltages, an ohmmeter that measures resistance, and millimeter that measures small amount of direct current. As safety precautions in the maintenance of this instrument or equipment, the following should be observed. Always rest the function switch at 250 volts alternating current if an off position is not available in the instrument. For current and voltage measurements, always set the function switch in the correct setting, which is a little higher than the expected current or voltage present in the circuit. Place the instrument in a cool, dry place, away from any magnetic devices, and free from vibrations. A digital multimeter is a test tool used to measure two or more electrical values, principally voltage, or the volts, the current, or the amps, and resistance, or the ohms. It is a standard diagnostic tool for technicians in the electronic industries.
Oscilloscope allows signal voltages to be viewed usually as a two-dimensional graph of one or more electrical potential differences in vertical axis plotted as a function of time or of some other voltage in horizontal axis. Signal generator is a type of electronic equipment generates electronic signals with a set of properties of amplitude, frequency, and wave shape.